Faith Church, hope you're well. I am obviously in our worship space here in the sanctuary, and I know this has been a very sacred space for many of you and for me as well. As we know, this isn't the church, this is where the church gathers, but it's a very sacred space, and you may never have thought about this much, some of you have, but this space is designed with a lot of intentionality, as is the services, worship services that we have here. And every time I explain some of these things to folks, they always say, boy, I wish I would have known that. So I'm trying to do a better job of that. And one of the things is actually the furniture that is set up in this sanctuary, particularly two pieces of furniture which are centrally located. The first is the baptismal here, which is at the entrance of the back of the sanctuary. And the second one is the table. Both have a central place, and in most Christian churches, if you go in, you will see the table in the center and the baptismal, hopefully at some place in the center. But the placement of these is particularly in their relation to each other, teaches us a lot if we can be intentional about thinking about this and letting it remind us. God talks a lot. Jesus talks a lot about us remembering. Don't forget these things that I have done for you and want to do for you. And God gives us lots of reminders, and we have a couple of these here. The first is the baptismal. It's intentionally placed at the back of the sanctuary here, except if we're doing a baptism. And that's traditional in the church. If you've ever been to Grace Cathedral in San Francisco, I love that sanctuary. You walk in, there's a giant baptismal right at the back, and you got to go through it. And it's almost there to give us this reminder that we come to worship not to earn God's favor, but we come to worship in response to God's favor. And so, as I've told many of you over the years, when you come through these doors into worship, we pass through the waters, if you will. Not literally, but we pass through the waters here, remembering our baptism. That's why these words are here of Jesus' baptism, remembering that we are God's beloved sons and daughters simply by his grace, nothing that we do. And so we don't come to worship to get God to like us or love us even. We come to worship because he loves us, even though we're not lovable. And that baptism points to that as our birth into Christ. It's the entry point into our faith in Christ. If someone believes and trusts in Christ, they should be baptized as a sign of that work that God's done to make them his beloved son or daughter. If you are a Christian, someone who's come to trust in Christ and not baptized, you should be baptized. So come talk to us about that. But it's at the back as a reminder to this, that this is the beginning, that our faith, coming to faith in Christ, is the beginning of a long journey, a long life of then being nurtured to grow in Christ. You know, a baby is born physically, but that's not the end. It's the beginning of a life. It has to start there. Can't have life without a beginning, but then it leads to this journey of growing and maturing into a mature adulthood, hopefully in every way, physically, emotionally, mentally. The Christian life is the same, and that's why the table is located in the middle of the sanctuary, or right in the center there. We come in through faith, and then the table is a sacrament of nourishment. Baptism is the sacrament of birth. The Lord's Supper is the sacrament of nourishment in Christ. And that's why we only do baptism once. We don't rebaptize people. You're only born one time. But we're nourished regularly, right? I was born one time, but I eat every day. And this is a reminder of our faith in Christ, that we're on a journey to grow and be nourished from this place onwards. And the furniture in our sanctuary reminds us of this. I share all this with you partly just so you'll see the richness of it whenever you come into this space. And by the way, one of 1,000 reasons why worshiping online, unless you have to by necessity, is just it's a poor option compared to being in this space with community. So I know, just want to keep encouraging you, if you're healthy and can, to be back with us in worship. But I share it partly with you because of the text this Sunday from Colossians. It's Colossians 2:6-15. It's going to speak to this, that this foundation that we have in our faith in Christ that is pointed to through baptism is the foundation that God means to build on. You don't make a foundation without building on that foundation. That's by definition what a foundation is, right? You don't drive through neighborhoods and see slabs put down for house foundations that nothing ever gets built on. There's no point in that. And so the point of the Christian life, the point of the church, is to help us live into Christ so that he might build something off that foundation that he has placed in us. So we're going to speak about that this Sunday. I'm super excited about some of what God's revealed to me through this passage. I would encourage you to read it before you come. We also have a chance to welcome some new members on Sunday, which is a great opportunity. And so both services, there'll be people that will be presented as new members, and that's always a great celebration. Wherever you are today, pray that you would truly sense the love of God your Father, the grace of Christ, God the Son, and then the fellowship of God the Spirit with you. Peace.